Give me 15 minutes, and I'm going to redraw the way you see your entire life, not with magic, but with psychology, neuroscience, and a bit of philosophy. You probably feel like life is this giant, messy equation. Career, relationships, happiness, money, health, it all looks impossibly complex. Endless books, endless advice, endless strategies. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Underneath all the noise, life runs on a few simple rules. You don't have to know everything, you just have to understand the operating system. In this video, we're going to walk through 10 core ideas that quietly shape almost everything you feel and do. The paradox of effort, control, happiness, your biased brain, your emotions, your memories, your habits, and the power of tiny actions that compound. Think of this as a user manual for being human. Let's start with the first glitch in the system. Chapter 1. The effort paradox. Why trying too hard backfires? You've heard it your whole life. Try harder. Study harder, work harder, push harder, hustle harder. But here's the paradox. In some of the most important areas of life, the harder you try, the worse you do. Try to force sleep and you stay awake. Try to force someone to like you and you push them away. Try to force yourself to be happy and you end up feeling broken for not managing it. Psychologists call this dynamic something close to the backwards law. The more desperately you chase a state, the more you amplify the feeling of not having it. It's like trying to float by thrashing your arms in the water. The harder you fight, the faster you sink. So what actually works? Not laziness. Non-desperate effort. Action without obsession. You still study, work, train, improve, but you loosen your grip on the outcome. You focus on what you can do today, not on the perfect result you want tomorrow. Life tends to reward the people who show up consistently more than the people who show up desperately. Chapter 2. The control paradox. Surfer, not CEO. Another trap. The belief that if you just plan enough, control enough, you can prevent chaos from touching your life. So you try to manage every detail, every message, every reaction, every impression, every future scenario. It's exhausting. The paradox? The more you try to control everything, the more out of control you feel. Reality doesn't sign your contract. People cancel, markets change, accidents happen, emotions shift. Life has its own schedule. Philosophers like the Stoics noticed this long before social media and calendars existed. They divided life into two zones: what you control, your actions, and your reactions. What you don't control, everything else. Most of our anxiety comes from living in the wrong zone. You can't control the traffic, but you can control when you leave. You can't control what others think of you, but you can control whether you live according to your own values. You're not the CEO of reality. You're more like a surfer. You can't command the ocean, but you can get very good at riding the wave that's actually in front of you. The less you try to micromanage the universe, the more energy you have to master your own behavior. Chapter 3. Your biased brain. The invisible filters. Let's talk about the brain that's running the show. We like to believe it's a perfectly logical machine searching for truth. It isn't. Your brain is a pattern-matching machine trying to keep you alive with minimal energy. To save effort, it uses shortcuts called cognitive biases. They're not bugs, they're features, but they twist your view of reality. Confirmation bias makes you notice information that agrees with what you already believe and ignore what doesn't. Halo effect makes you think that because someone is attractive or confident, they're automatically smart or good. Loss aversion makes you fear losing $100 more than you enjoy winning $100. You walk around inside this filtered reality, convinced you're being objective. Here's a painful example. You judge other people by their actions, but you judge yourself by your intentions. I was late, but I meant well. They were late. They're disrespectful. You can't switch these biases off. They're wired in, but you can notice them. That small pause. Am I seeing this clearly, or is this just my bias talking? Is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Your brain edits reality. Awareness is how you become more than the edit. Chapter 4. The 90/10 rule. Your emotions decide first. We like to imagine ourselves as rational creatures who occasionally feel emotional. Neuroscience says, not quite. Roughly speaking, most of your decisions are emotional first, logical later. Your emotional brain reacts in milliseconds. Your rational brain arrives afterward with a story that sounds smart. You didn't logically analyze every detail before liking someone at first sight. You just felt something. Attraction, safety, curiosity, and then your mind started explaining why. They're my type. We have similar interests. They seem kind. Your emotions are not the enemy. They're data, not dictators. The trick isn't to shut them down, it's to insert a small gap between feeling and action. Anger rises. Instead of sending that message instantly, you breathe. Wait, move your body, name what you're feeling. You let the wave pass before you decide what to do with it. That gap, the space between impulse and response, is where genuine freedom lives. Chapter 5. Memory. Your inner fiction writer. People imagine memory as a mental hard drive. You press play and replay the recording. In reality, your memory is more like Wikipedia, open to edits every time you access it. Whenever you remember an event, you don't just watch it, you reconstruct it. You fill gaps, update details with new knowledge, and sometimes invent parts that feel right. The next time you remember it, you're partly remembering your last edited version. That means your past is not a fixed movie. It's a story that keeps being rewritten. This sounds scary, but it's also hopeful. If memory is flexible, you can change the way your past shapes you by changing what you focus on. You can't erase pain, but you can choose whether the main theme of your story is, I was always a victim, or I went through hard things and kept moving. You are not just the character in your life story, you're also the editor. Chapter 6. The Happiness Trap. Chasing versus living. Almost everyone is chasing happiness like it's a destination. Once I get that job, relationship, body, number in my bank, then I'll be happy. But your brain has something like a happiness set point. Big events move it up or down for a while, and then you drift back to your usual level. Win the lottery? After the initial high, many people return to baseline. Go through something terrible? After the shock, many people slowly find their way back as well. This doesn't mean circumstances don't matter. It means they're not the whole story. Happiness works more like a side effect than a prize. It tends to show up when you're doing things that give your life meaning. Growing, contributing, connecting, creating, learning. When you chase happiness, directly, constantly checking if you're happy yet, you become more aware of not feeling it. The paradox is brutal. The less you obsess about feeling happy and the more you focus on living a meaningful, engaged life, the more often happiness quietly appears in the background. Like a cat, it shows up when you stop trying to grab it. Chapter 7. The 80-20th Principle. Most of life is noise. Look at your life and ask a harsh question. What actually moves the needle? The 80-20th principle says that a small portion of your inputs produce a large portion of your outcomes. Around 20% of your habits create 80% of your progress. 20% of your relationships bring 80% of your joy. 20% of your problems cause 80% of your stress. The rest? Noise, background, busy work. We're all majoring in minor things, polishing details that barely matter, arguing over trivial issues, scrolling through hours of content that leave no trace in our lives. If you want your life to look radically different, you don't need 100 new habits. You need to identify your vital few. Which actions actually improve your health? Which people leave you feeling more alive after you talk to them? Which tasks move your work or studies forward? Then you double down on those and ruthlessly reduce the rest. Life isn't fair. It's uneven. Once you accept that, you can stop pouring energy into the 80% that barely matters. Chapter 8 to Habit Loops. Your autopilot system, people say, I just have bad habits. But your brain doesn't think in good or bad. It thinks in loops. Cue, routine, reward. You feel stressed? Cue. You open social media. Routine. You get a tiny hit of distraction and dopamine. Reward. You feel lonely? Cue. You overeat, drink, or binge watch something. Routine. You get temporary comfort. Reward. Once this loop runs enough times, your brain stops asking if it's useful. It just executes the program. Here's the important part. You can't delete a habit pathway, but you can reroute it, saying cue, different routine, similar reward. Stressed? Instead of scrolling, you take a 5-minute walk, do push-ups, or write a quick brain dump. Your body still gets relief, but the routine now serves you. The average person lives a huge part of their day on autopilot. If you design those loops intentionally, autopilot stops being your enemy and becomes your ally. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Chapter 9, The Compound Effect. Tiny choices, huge destinies. We're addicted to dramatic change. The big makeover, the big breakthrough, the big moment. Reality is slower and quieter. Imagine improving your life by just 1% per day. Not massive change, Just tiny, almost invisible upgrades. Over a year, that doesn't add up, it multiplies. Small actions compound, like interest in a bank account. 10 pages of reading a day equals around 12 books a year. 15 minutes of movement a day equals a completely different body and mind over time. One honest conversation a week equals stronger relationships than most people ever build. The scary part, the compound effect works in reverse, too. Skipping one workout feels like nothing. Skipping 100 quietly rewires your identity. One more hour of scrolling tonight feels small. 10 years of it steals a huge chunk of your life. The secret isn't motivation. Motivation is loud and temporary. The secret is math. Design a life where the default, automatic actions point in the direction you want to go, even when you're tired or uninspired. Chapter 10, Putting It All Together, a simple manual for life. So how do these ideas connect? The effort paradox teaches you to act without clinging. The control paradox reminds you to master your actions, not the universe. Your biased brain keeps you humble about your own perception. The 90/10 rule shows emotions drive more than you think, but the pause between emotion and action is where your power lives. Memory being flexible means your past is a story you can edit with awareness. The happiness trap warns you not to chase feelings directly, but to build a meaningful life and let feelings follow. The 80/20 principle tells you to focus on the few things that matter most. Habit loops show how your daily actions are shaped and how to redesign them. The compound effect proves that small choices, repeated, become your destiny. If you wanted a ridiculously simple cheat code for life, it could be this: accept what you can't control. Almost everything outside your actions and reactions belongs to the universe, not to you. Master what you can control: your attention, your habits, your environment, what you consume, how you respond. Commit to tiny improvements that compound. One better choice today. Then one more tomorrow. Then another. You are not a fixed character trying to find yourself. You're a work in progress, built choice by choice, thought by thought, habit by habit. You now understand a little more about how your brain works, why happiness slips away when you chase it, how your memories and biases shape your reality, and how small, consistent actions quietly build, or destroy, the life in front of you. What you do with that understanding is the part only you can write. If this helped you see your life a bit more clearly, stick around. Hit subscribe, tap like, and tell me in the comments which idea hit you the hardest. The game of understanding the mind is endless. But the more you learn the rules, the more freedom you gain. In your thoughts, in your habits, and in the life you're building day by day. And before you swipe away to the next video, give yourself a tiny experiment. Pause for a moment and scan through your own life with these lenses. Where are you trying so hard that you're actually sinking instead of floating? Where are you fighting the ocean instead of learning to surf the wave in front of you? Which stories from your past are you replaying like fixed documentaries when they're actually drafts you've been unconsciously editing for years? You don't have to answer out loud, but if even one of those questions hit a nerve, that's your brain quietly telling you, hey, this part might be worth looking at. Because here's the thing most people never realize. Your life doesn't change when you hear an idea. It changes when you return to it, when you replay it, when you sit with it for a bit longer than is comfortable, when you let it bother you just enough to move differently tomorrow. So if this video felt like looking into a mirror, if you saw yourself in the effort paradox, in the need to control, in the emotional decisions, in the loops you run on autopilot, I want you to do two things. First, tell me in the comments which part felt most like your life. Was it the way you chase happiness? The way your habits run without your permission? The way your brain quietly edits your memories? You don't have to write an essay. Even a simple, that 80/20th part was me, or I've been stuck in the compound effect in reverse, already makes your brain label this as important, and that alone makes change more likely. Second, if you want this kind of perspective to become a regular part of your life and not just a one-time wake-up call, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. This channel is for people who think a little too much, feel a little too deeply, and sometimes wonder if they're the only ones seeing the world this way. You're not. There are thousands of people quietly watching videos like this, recognizing themselves in the stories, slowly redesigning their inner world, thought by thought, habit by habit, day by day. And if you're still here, you're probably one of them. So use this video however you need. Replay it when you forget the basics. Save it for the days when everything feels like noise. Share it with someone who is clearly drowning in effort or control and doesn't realize there's another way to live. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a different personality. You don't need a complete reset. You just need to be a little more aware than you were yesterday and a little more intentional with the next small choice you make. Thank you for giving me your time and attention today. I don't take that lightly. If this helped you, let me know in the comments. If you want more videos that mix psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy to explain why you are the way you are, stick around. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care of your mind, and it will quietly take care of your life.